Nobody told me that I needed to isolate myself. When I decided to deconstruct the word, when I decided to understand the world I was living in, nobody had to tell me that I needed that isolation. I knew that I needed it. Somehow, I just knew that I needed to be alone. I just knew that I needed to hear my own voice. So I decided on my own, I decided that I would cut off my friendships gradually. And then gradually cut off intimacies or the people that I was intimate with, other people, yeah. And at first, it was not easy because, these are the people that I'm used to. And, we have memories together. So it was very hard for me to cut these people off. But gradually, I was cutting them off. It was very hard for me to cut off friendships. I did that gradually. But what I know that I did instantly, when I said that, okay, I want to understand the world I'm living in. I want to fully deconstruct the world. Okay, no outside or external distraction. Just me observing and gathering conclusions. The one I did instantly when that decision was made was cut off intimacy, all the intimacy. See, every relationship, everybody that was having cut off, going. In fact, this is the decision that I made. Before that time, I have been hearing about celibacy, people going into celibacy. I didn't understand why they were doing it because I felt like sex was, once you are doing it, like, what's the meaning of stopping? What effect or what change does that? I did not understand the power in that, like the celibacy. But let me explain fully, because I don't do celibacy, I do abstinence, but I want to explain something. So I didn't understand why people were going into that celibacy. So I've been hearing about it. And then I said that, okay, when I made that decision to deconstruct the word, I said, okay, I was going to also go celibate. So instantly, I went celibate. And along the line, I realized that what I was doing wasn't celibacy. Like, I wasn't practicing celibacy. I was practicing abstinence. Celibacy is the one you do when you are religious. This is the one you do in a religious space, where you take a vow in the presence of a god that you're worshiping, the god that you're worshiping, and you vow to stay away from sex. That's celibacy. Now, me, at that moment in my life, at that period when I made that decision that I wanted to deconstruct the world, I stopped being religious, okay? Deconstructing the world, when I got to the point where I wanted to deconstruct the world, I stopped being a lot of things. Everything that I was before, I dropped everything. So I dropped all labels so that I can pick up the ones that make sense after the construction, okay? So I was not religious. And meaning what I was not doing is called abstinence. I was abstaining from sex. Now, what I wanted to really explain again is why abstaining, because I talked about the power. Now, abstaining from sex, detaching from people intimately, will actually give you clarity. It brings clarity. Yes. We don't know this because we are not overwhelmed. We are deep in doing it without even thinking or asking what we are doing. Like, we have been doing it. It's a norm that we don't understand, why it is happening. But then once you start to understand sex and understand the effects of sex on good morning, the effect of sex on us, especially based on our gender, you're going to understand how sex clouds your judgment, like having sex. It clouds your judgment, especially if you're a woman. So being intimate, right, in a way, energy is being exchanged. And once you're having that constant energy exchange, when you don't even know that you're exchanging energy, or when you don't even understand what sex is, or sexual energy, or even the life force, that sex, that desire, when you don't understand it, that particular exchange can be clouding your judgments, or can be blind. I don't want to call it blind. I'm looking for a specific word. I'm looking for a specific word. But anyways, so when you detach from people, right? When you stop having sex, when you stop being intimate, especially when you're trying to do something very important in your life, you get a certain clarity, because that your sexual energy is now being redirected into doing something else, instead of you know, for women, no, instead of you sharing it to somebody blindly, it helps you, like that particular life source helps you bring energy into whatever it is that you want it to bring energy to. Like, it helps you, it gives you clarity. It helps when it comes to having clarity in life. Let me just say, that's the summary. It helps. Okay, so I said, okay, I was going to do the abstinence, and that's why I did abstinence. Okay, first of all, I thought it was celibacy, but then I wasn't religious. Turns out that I was just abstaining, and I did the abstinence. Now, one thing that I did not foresee, or something that I did not, when I was having this whole plan and making the decision, one thing that I did not see or foresee, right, is that during this deconstruction, before the deconstruction, you need to detach from people, you need to drop labels, you need to do all these things, right? Now, during deconstruction, I thought that I was going to deconstruct and pick these labels up, but it turns out that I could not even pick them even when I wanted to. I couldn't pick them anymore. Everything, every single labels that I dropped, every single thing that I detached from, I could not attach back to it. And that is what is happening to me right now. Like, it is now very hard for me to attach back to it, because now it's like once you've separated everything and understand it, like once you put everything, take them apart, that's deconstruct, right? Once you do that, take every piece of reality, take it apart and understand it. When you put them back together, it will not fit the same way that the way it was before. So you cannot attach to it the same way that you had, the attachment to it, because now you understand it better. And because you understand it better, the attachment becomes very different. It becomes very, very different. The attachment to these things become very, very different. So the celibacy part for me, which is the abstinence part for me now, is like now a lifestyle, because even if I wanted to, the number of people that I have available to me is not limited. In fact, I want to say it's zero. But I would like to believe that there's still someone out there that I can be attracted to. But this is what happens. Now, for which other parts, conforming to some society's norm is really hard, because I'm asking myself, why am I giving into something that does not make sense, or that is just a setup by other people? Like, it's like people setting up an idea and feeding us this idea. Once I deconstruct the idea and come back, I cannot eat it anymore. I cannot feed into it anymore, because now I understand that somebody created this for a reason. Why am I fooling myself, or why am I going and obeying blindly when I already know what it is? What I'm just saying is that you cannot be attached to people when you're deconstructing. You have to isolate. Nobody told me that I needed to isolate. You have to isolate. But once you isolate and you are by yourself and you get to understand these things, when you come back, in fact, even in the process, you're not going to be able to, you're not going to see things the same way again. You're not going to see things the same way. You are not going to see things the same freaking way. Not like the average person, not like an average person.